Hi everybody, it's Tatiana, and this is take two for this review of Now I Rise by Kiersten White, because my first take was extremely rambly and all over the place. So I have actually pulled out my notes that I made for myself when I read the story so that I can actually go from these as opposed to going off the top of my head, because the top of my head is not cohesive at all. So this is book 2, In the End I Darken. I believe it's going to be a trilogy. If you saw my little snippet of a wrap-up that I did last year when I read book 1, I didn't really enjoy book 1, point blank. After reading book 2, and there's going to be some people who are not going to like this comparison, but, you know, fandoms, I now see that the purpose of book 1 was basically like the purpose of the first Resident Evil movie, which was so boring to me. But the purpose of book 1 was to get us to book 2. The purpose of Resident Evil 1 was to get us to Resident Evil 2. So now I can appreciate book 1 for what it was. There are still some issues that were presented in book 1 that I didn't like that are present in book 2 that I didn't like. If you are not familiar with the premise behind the And I Darken series, it is a gender flip story of Vlad the Impaler, where Vlad is now Lotta. If you don't know who Vlad the Impaler was, get your life. There are so many electronic resources that are available to you now for researching history versus when I was growing up, Encyclopedia Britannica, where you got more information every year as more information was learned. That's how I learned about Vlad the Impaler. And why was I interested in Vlad the Impaler as a kid? Because he is the inspiration behind Dracula, and I am all about the vampires. While direct dates are not given in the actual story, the only thing that I can really tell you, because I suck at remembering dates, and I'm really not that good with history unless I am intrigued by it, and the intriguing factor for this whole situation was Dracula, and then finding out how it's seriously like 6 degrees of separation when it comes to how the story of Vlad the Impaler and Mehmed, as well as Constantine, not Constantine the Great, the Constantine further down his line, because Constantine the Great is who Constantinople is named for, but I'm sorry, geek moment. The way that all of that intersects in history is so interesting, and that is part of this story, because it's a fictional rendering of the history of Vlad the Impaler as far as his experiences, in this case Lotta's experience, being a captive of the Ottoman Empire. She was handed over to them, as well as her brother, by her father, which is the same thing that happened to Vlad, as a way of the Ottomans keeping tabs on their father to say, if you fall out of line, we're going to kill your children. And there's this whole thing in book 1 when they're first taken there, and the gardener is planting. That's how I'm going to leave it. But that was a learning experience for Lotta/Vlad that comes into play later in life. I did have a problem while reading this story of knowing some of the things that actually happened and seeing what White did with that story, and questioning how much of this did you actually put some imagination into writing, because it really is in some cases a thing of, okay, this person was put here versus being over here. These two characters meet up, but there's no evidence of that actually happening in the historical accounts. So, you know, those little things being weaved into or put into the story to make it different, but a lot of the other things that happen is very easily found through research. So there were some parts of it that I'm like, okay, how much of this did you actually put thought into outside of how were you going to weave this in? Where were you going to place this in the story, and how were you going to get to that part? This maybe 50, 60 pages, you didn't really have to do that much to make it up. So that was another issue while reading it, but some of the character growth that took place, especially with the character of Lada's brother Radu, I really liked. And Radu there's not much about him in history, so all of that she had like just carte blanche with. She could do whatever she wanted, and I mean, you could do that with any book, but anyway, I really enjoyed the growth of his character and what he was allowed to go through and see. I really liked the growth of Lada's character with having to deal with the fact that you want to go and take back your home country, and you want to do it not as a princess but as a prince, and being female and having the men who you come into contact with look at you like, yeah, right, whatever. That's never been done. And even when you show that you have a better mind, that you have good, you have a better mind, you have a better strategy, excuse me, you're an excellent fighter, and, you know, there are some still who give you the respect that you are due, and then there are still those who want to make you a showpiece and want to allow you to sit at their side while they make the actual decisions because you're just a girl. And I like how she handled that and dealt with that. That is the feminist aspect of the story that is brought forth. There are a lot of extremes in this story. Lada is not a negotiator by far. I don't know, and I'm interested to see. I'm going to continue with book 3 when that comes out. I am interested to see where this story actually goes for Lada as a character, because Vlad the Impaler's actual story is a lot of time spent in captivity. And I don't know that Lada is going to take the same route. Yeah, that is all that I'm going to say about that. I hope it made sense. And I thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a good weekend whenever you see this video. Peace out.